Show made possible by a donation from God-Fearing Brothers Auto Center. God-Fearing Brothers specializes in auto services, including repair, maintenance, and detailing. They also stock a full selection of tires, make glass repairs, offer towing, and have an auto sales lot on the corner of Highway 395 and Main Street at the light. For more information, you can visit the Auto Service Center at 806 East Main in Chewelah. Find them online at godfearingbrothers.com or by phone at 509-935-6414. KCHW-FM thanks God-Fearing Brothers for supporting public radio in Stevens County.
And by Chewelah Flooring.
Chewelah Flooring at 214 East Clay in the 3rd Street Mall offers a wide variety of products, including carpet, ceramic and porcelain tile, vinyl and laminate planks, and vinyl sheet flooring. Chewelah Flooring carries products for both commercial businesses and residential homes, including brands like National Flooring, Del Tile, Mannington, and Mohawk. They also offer blind repair. For more information, you can visit online at CheWelahFlooring.com, call 509-935-8021, or via email at CheWelahFlooring@gmail.com.
KCHW programming made possible through the support of New Health. If you're ready to start prioritizing you and your family's health, New Health is committed to providing quality health care for you and your family. Their team of experienced healthcare professionals are dedicated to keep you and your loved ones happy and healthy. They offer a wide range of services to meet your family's healthcare needs. From your medical, dental, pharmacy, and behavioral health needs, New Health has you covered. To schedule an appointment, call 509-935-6004. New Health, celebrating 45 years of bringing healthcare into communities and communities into healthcare.
This is KCHW 102.7.
Good morning. It's KCHW 102.7 live on the radio, live on Facebook this morning, YouTube, and our website at kchw.org. You can catch the Twitch feed right there. If you got the Twitch app, you can watch us live on there. Just pump in KCHW, and you will be good to go as we get started on a Wednesday. That means we're joined by the one and only Mike Bentz.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
And we sent our station manager out to the coast. You're in Port Townsend, right, Chuck Ritchie?
That is correct. It's beautiful here.
It sounds like you're right next door.
Right?
It does, actually. I kind of like that as a studio.
It's much better than his bathroom that he usually broadcasts from home.
You know, we're at the old consulate in here. It's an old historic building, and we're up in a tower overlooking the ocean. It's amazing.
Wow, lucky you. Lucky you. And who's paying for that? Or should we leave that alone, Chuck?
Not the radio station.
Okay, excellent. That makes me feel so much better. All right. Special this morning, Mr. Mike Bentz, over 5 years here at kchw.org. Moved from Chewelah off to Montana, but has been coming back the past few Wednesdays. And looks like he's going into full retirement, but he says he will fill in. But today is his last official day. Thank you for everything and everything you've brought to the radio station, Mike. People have looked forward now for years to Wednesdays and all the information you bring about the community and nonprofits. So a big round of applause for you. And then I was thinking of a song that I could play for you. And this is the only one I came up with.
Hail to the king, baby.
So big thank you to Mike Bentz. Yay.
Yes.
And along with that song, Mike, as I previewed it this morning, I came to the realization that I want you to run for president.
There you go.
Yeah, but I have no party affiliation.
That's awesome. That's perfect. I think that's what we need, you know.
I refuse to have a party affiliation.
I think that's what we need. All right.
That's understandable.
This is your last official day. It wouldn't be fitting if we didn't let Mike Bentz do some dad jokes.
And I am prepared.
Good.
Okay. All right. Okay. The first one. What did the policeman say to his tummy?
I don't know.
You're under a vest. Scott, you ought to get this one.
Okay.
What do you call someone who plays tricks at Halloween?
A joker? What?
Frankenstein.
What do you say? Frankenstein? Oh, I like that one.
Okay, Chuck, you're out in Port Townsend. You can see out on the Puget Sound. You see all these beautiful boats.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with a sick boat?
I don't know. What do you do with a sick boat?
You take it to the dock.
Oh. That's good.
Okay, Scott, what did the man say while he was reversing his car?
I don't know.
This takes me back.
So bad.
Okay,
but still so good.
Yes. Okay, what does the nut say when it sneezes?
I'm afraid to ask.
What does it say?
Cashew. Okay, all right. What did the grape say when it got stepped on?
I don't know.
Nothing. You just let out a little wine.
Oh.
Okay. Well, are you ready for the last two?
Yes.
That was it you would have said. Okay. What kind of birds are always sticking to each other?
What kind?
Yeah, Velcros.
Wow.
Okay, and Scott, this one's for you.
Okay.
What do you call a pile of cats?
Ooh, I don't know.
Meowtain.
I don't know, but I'd like to have like at least 10 cats.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'd be the crazy old cat guy. All right.
I can just see Scott laying in his bed with the cats walking all over him. Oh,
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Chuck covered his Prius
my babies.
Chuck covered his Prius in bumper stickers for his trip to the coast. All right. So
That's right.
just to kind of prepare people. His first bumper sticker he stuck on said, "Your kid may be an honor student, but you're still an idiot." Chuck. Wow.
Well, you know.
This one was
sometimes
on
the truth hurts.
Chuck's dad's car. It said, "Learn from your parents' mistakes. Use birth control."
Ooh.
He who laughs last thinks the slowest. Auntie M. You get it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Auntie M, I hate you. Hate Kansas. Taking the dog. Dorothy.
I like that.
You like that? Chuck also put this one in his car. I'm not very happy about it. "I love cats. They taste just like chicken."
Wow.
I like this one. "Born free, taxed to death." I listened to an interview with our governor, Mr. Inslee, saying that it's not his fault that gas prices went up. There's a pipeline getting repaired.
Quiet! I can't have myself lie!
Oops.
I saw a news feed this week that Washington now has a distinction of having the highest average gasoline per gallon in the United States.
Yep. Bigger than, higher than California and
Higher
Hawaii.
than California. Yeah.
One
So apparently the pipeline only affects Washington State?
Yeah.
And it's not in Washington State?
All right. Mike got a new one for his pickup in Montana. It says, "Montana, at least our cows are sane." My new bumper sticker today, it says, "If you don't like the news, go out and make some." All right, let's see if I can come up with one more. Let's see. This one's good. Chuck, you might try it. Few women admit their age, fewer men act it.
Ooh, that is true. That is true.
And here in Maine, I think that's a great thing. All right.
It's great that they don't act their age?
Yeah. All right. One more, because this is pretty good. We're born naked, wet, and hungry, and then things get worse. All right. Taking a look at the weather for today. 86 in Chewelah. Sunshine, a mix of clouds, stray shower, a thunderstorm is possible at 15%. Tonight, some clouds this evening, giving way to mainly clear skies overnight. And then you've got a forecast all the way through the 4th of July, sunny every day. Every day. Except tomorrow, partly cloudy, by the way. All right. But then it's 91 and partly cloudy. Then sunshine for it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. Friday, 93. Saturday, 92. Sunday, 89. Monday, 90. 4th of July, 93. The day after, 94. Wow. There's some summer weather for you.
Yeah.
Ooh, comes with a vengeance.
Yes. For the kids this morning, for breakfast, we're looking at bread, different varieties of bread, fresh fruit, and their choice of milk, and they can even have chocolate. And then for lunch today, we're looking for the sub sandwich. It's got ham. There are going to be some carrots on the side, fresh fruit, and again, their choice of milk. We move on this morning. I have nothing, no new public service announcements that have been requested through the radio station. But Mike, you usually bring kind of like the community lowdown on Wednesdays. Do you have anything on your list today?
I have lots.
Good.
Remember last week I promised July will be a month that will go down in history.
Okay. That busy, huh?
And if anybody complains there's nothing to do in Chewelah in the month of July, they don't live in Chewelah. Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to start out, the Creative District sponsored an event this last weekend at the golf course called the Art in Full Swing. Everything I've heard is phenomenal. The weather on Saturday for the artists to kind of show people what they did was, I guess Chuck and Scott, you guys ordered up fantastic weather.
I did.
Everything was all around. It was just top notch. And then the artists were able to show that work on Sunday, and it was well received. And Chuck made a comment, I think, before we got on the air, that the vast majority of artists sold all the work they did on Saturday, plus a few extra pieces on top of that. And one of the goals behind this was to put together an event where the public can be involved and seeing what's happening and get introduced to the creatives in the community. And I believe that particular goal was accomplished. So, and I'm hoping as the Creative District moves forward that there's two events that become signature events. One is the one in January, and the other one in the month of June, because those can be expanded out, unreal, actually.
Yeah.
And
well,
so,
I think there was this connection with the people who bought the art that were on the green with them making it on a beautiful day, and I think it really helped the artist sell the painting, and I think that art is going to have more value in the future to those people that purchased it,
Yeah, and I absolutely agree, because I remember when I first got involved with the Creative District, one of the first meetings I went to was there was a class on artists being marginalized in society. And a lot of that marginalization has to do with awareness and preconception. And so the best way to get that taken care of is the hands-on experience. And that's why the galleries, the first Thursdays, the event that happened this last week, those things are so important, kind of the art in the park type thing. And I'm the first one to admit that the exposure to the Creative District expanded my thought process as what a creative was. And once you understand that, the odds are you're a creative to begin with, but beyond that, your neighbor probably is, because it's the way I interpret it is if you do something with your mind or your hands, you're a creative.
Okay.
And
exactly.
and so I think Chihuahua's got really a leg up in getting that message out there. So thank you to the public for that. A couple other things on the Creative District. The art classes are being looked at. I'm no longer involved in the day-to-day operations of that, but I do know that was on the docket to try to put some adult art classes together in a variety of different mediums. So keep an eye on Facebook or the Creative District web page for that. And as always, memberships are available through the webpage for $25, although larger donations are accepted. We tried, and with that membership, you will get a monthly newsletter, invites to a variety of different events, so you know what's going on in the creative community. So the Creative District is here to stay in Chihuahua.
All right.
So
yeah. There we are.
Then beyond that, the Arts Guild has their Children's Arts Festival coming up. Well, let me back up, and I'll just go through the flyers that I was able to find yesterday in about 20 minutes by just going. If you go into the web and just put events in Chihuahua, all kinds of different things pop up. And I do know they're working on a common calendar, which is sorely needed. And I pointed that out to a couple different people I talked to yesterday. To get that done. I do know it's being worked on, but even from afar, I'm going to kind of be that pain in the rear that says, this needs to go to the top of the priority list.
Yep.
So, but first of all, let's start out with First Thursday Art Walk is coming up next Thursday, and we have all 5 galleries are participating. You've got Trails Inn Gallery, you've got the Flowery Trail Cafe, the Spotlight Gallery, the McCunn Gallery, and the Yale Press. They all have a variety of different artists with a variety of different mediums. I got a call last night because this hasn't got out there yet, but the Creative District has a special guest coming in on Thursday. Fruitland Valley Vineyards is going to be there. And so I've been there, actually. That's a phenomenal vineyard out on Lake Roosevelt. If you've never taken the time to take a short drive from Chihuahua, go out there. It's a beautiful place. And they'll do a little bit of wine tasting, and they'll be able to answer questions and things like that. So I think that's a great addition. So congratulations to the Creative District. So when you're making that walk kind of from Park Street going east, you can stop by and visit with the good people from the Fruitland Valley Vineyards.
All right.
And
Sounds
then
fun.
after that, on the 15th, there's an event in the park called Fun in the Sun Fair. It's going to have food, shopping, and more. So keep an eye on not only the newspaper, but Facebook pages, the Creative District, the Chamber, the city to get more information on what's going on in that. And then also on July 15th, there'll be Pickle Fest. This is hopefully an annual event they're putting together, but it's a pickleball tournament that's being at the golf course. The golf course has pickleball courts. And by the way, there's no fee for those, and they're open to the public. But this is being very well promoted. And so if you want to participate as a participant, or as somebody just wants to see what pickleball is all about, it's on Saturday, July 15th. And then if you want to register to be in the tournament, you can get a hold of Caleb Staub at Edward Jones. He's kind of putting that all together, and he'll be able to take care of it from there. And then we have the Children's Art Festival coming up, which is always a great time. It's at the Trevilian's Children's Pavilion in the park on also July 15th. And it's from 9:30 a.m. to 5 o'clock. And I'm reading down through the flyer, which, by the way, you can get off the Chihuahua Arts Guild website. And it's the who's who of artists that are doing this. I mean, you got people in there like Janet McCullen and Jamie Thompson and Kim Goot and Marcy Bravo and Red Burdell. I mean, it's just Mo Oliver. These are phenomenal people that are crafting in their arts, and they're going to be doing this event for the Children's Arts Festival coming up on July 15th from 9:30 to 5 p.m. And then at the end of the month, on July 29th, there's a Chihuahua Kids Festival put on at the park from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And I actually talked to the person that's behind that yesterday because I hadn't seen anything, and I knew it was happening because I happened to be at a meeting where it was talked about. And he goes, "Yeah, it's happening," and so he's going to take care of getting it out there. But Scott, this is your kind of place.
Yeah.
It's got a 30-foot slide with a topical bouncy house.
Ooh.
Spike
I
ball.
like that.
Yeah. Ugh.
So
It's got a setup where you picture yourself walking around the world, balloon animals, a 12-foot Nerf dartboard.
Ooh.
Wow.
Face pointing, face painting, cornhole, climbing course, and all activities are free. They're also going to have a couple of different vendors there for food. The hot dog, SOB's Hot Dog Hut and Slushies, and Conscious Grave, and Rockin' Kettle Corn. So it's from,
Nice.
like I say, 11 to 7. It's put together by a coalition of 7 churches in Chewelah. And it was pointed out it went from 5 to 7 this year. And Greg McCunn will be a featured speaker, and then they'll have a concert at the end of the event.
Wow, that's cool. And all for
So-
kids.
So this dartboard, is it one of those where you like wear the Velcro suit and jump on the trampoline on it? Stick to the dartboard?
I'd like to see
Or
that,
dress
Chuck.
or dress a small child up in Velcro and throw them in the dartboard?
Exactly.
I like that.
So,
I like that.
So you're implying it's going to be a Velcro child throwing event?
That's what
That-
Chuck wants.
I would. That's what I would like to see.
Oh, okay.
I think we
Okay.
need more of that in Chewelah.
What's the dates on that again, Mike?
On the last one?
Yeah.
July 29th.
The kids, July 29th. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I'll do is I'll scan this flyer and send it to you guys so you can get it posted.
Okay. Excellent.
Because
Okay.
I had him, he actually texted it to me because I haven't seen it in anything. So,
All right.
Okay.
We will share
Oh,
that.
to add to that, I don't have it in front of me, but I also believe July 10th, the theater program there is having their kids summer camp.
they are. I've actually got that
yeah.
coming up.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
didn't say I was done.
Okay.
I'm
I was
sorry.
just saying, in a short period of time, these are the flyers that I was able to pull off just by
Yeah.
going to events that are happening in Chewelah and then going to the various organizations.
All right. Thanks
Okay?
for the legwork.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as Chuck pointed out, on July 10th through the 15th, the Sage Time Theater School's going on from 9 to 12. Bring a lunch. You can still register for that if you go to the Chewelah Center for the Arts website.
Yep.
I still got this packet thing. I got to get it out of my head.
You do. Chewelah Center for the Arts.
Website. It's right smack in the middle of it, how you can register and get prepared for that. And then what's always impressive to me, and it's been there for about a month now, is they have their entire 2023-2024 season up for you to take a look at and start thinking about buying season tickets.
Oh, wow.
So
Or auditioning.
or auditioning, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Farmers Market, they're doing their 4th of July celebration this coming June 30th, this coming Friday. And the famous or infamous, depending on whether you participated in it, Cherry Splat is coming
Yes.
up. So it's always a good time. And then they'll have an early 4th of July celebration tied into the farmers market that day at the same time too. And then I looked on there again, and I know a lot of people don't have access to the internet, but a lot of this stuff is available. And a lot of you can go to the library and have access to free internet to look it up as far as that goes. City, just some different events. Just to remind people, the 4th Wednesday of the month is the co-working event put on by Yale Press. I think Laura's primarily responsible for putting that together. So thank you. From 11 to 2. Library Tech Help is Monday through Thursday from 3 to 5. Library Story Times at 11:30 on Tuesdays. And we're down to the last 3 days, counting today, where you can take the City Parks and Rec survey. And then once all that information is compiled, we have Larry Fetter coming on, I believe in early August, but we need to verify that date, to talk about the survey results and kind of a what's next type thing. The Tasty event at the brewery last Thursday was extremely successful. They raised over $2,000. But if you weren't able to make it, you can still make a donation to the Tasty program.
And that's put on by the Faith Resources Group.
Faith Resources Group,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. And that's a phenomenal program. That type of program's been around since I was in elementary school. uh, which is a long time ago, to help people get through the summer. Basically.
They didn't actually have elementary school back then. It was just called school.
Just called school, yeah. It was K through 12, that wooden schoolhouse with all 13 of us, right?
Yes, and you walk backwards in the snow.
That's right, exactly. Uphill both ways.
Yes.
I could go on and on and on. Yeah, okay. All right, okay. Then on July 15th also, the Chihuahua Casino's doing their annual bike show. And if you're into motorcycles, this is a phenomenal show. You can actually register to show your bike. It's all free. And that'll run in the throughout the day from noon on. Oh man! And then Brandon Hansen's going to be in next week at the library for small business help, everything small business that Ted has to offer on July 5th from 10 to 3. And I'm running out of breath and I'm running out of notes.
Wow, good job. That was a lot of stuff. You would have had to take notes to keep that. Keep it all straight.
And the only thing I'm going to plant a seed is one of my favorite events is set to come up in September by the Arts Guild. It's the Taste of Chihuahua.
Oh, that's always fun.
So,
and
Scott, the zucchini races are going to be in August this year.
Ooh, okay.
So, and I always know that you're one of the top boat builders and carvers, and
that's right.
It was really horrible the first time though. We had made a big one out of a zucchini, had a flag in the center of it with our call letters on it. It said KCHW, and I think Doug McQuain was sailing it, and the minute we let it go, it capsized.
Oh no!
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Because you have to stay in the center, Scott. If you lean over the edge, it's going to tip over.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you.
I'd like.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'd like to add to the day before the art I'm sorry, my brain isn't working. Tim's Art Gallery. The day before the art talk at the day before the art walk is the art talk at the Portside Brewery. And at 4:00 we'll be having an interview on KCHW with the two artists that are going to be featured there for the month.
So Wednesday, July 5th, the day before the first Thursday art walk, 4:00 in the afternoon, live interview. You going to do that on the Facebook and stuff so people can see the art?
Yes. Yep.
Right.
We're gonna be streaming it. We'll have examples of the art and some of the process behind it. There's a couple of pretty prolific artists that they're going to have. I don't have their names in front of me right now, but.
All right. So you'll be doing, Chuck, since taking over the reins, this will be your very first solo art on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
I attempted to do one with a 50-hour slam earlier, and it didn't go very well.
All right. Yeah.
So I'm going to have better notes this time.
Yeah.
You got some new tech skills under your wings now, though, because the past 2 weeks you've been running the morning show from there. So good job, Chuck Ritchie. There you go. All right,
and I would
go ahead.
Oh, I would also like to plug. There's the deadline for voting for again that 50-hour slam, which we have a entry in there along with KS Brooks and Joe Wazinski. We're on our team, and that is 50hourSlam.com/viralvote-2023. The end of the month, our film is on there. It's called Milking the Goat.
Milking the Goat.
To get those votes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a little bit of poking fun at Chihuahua and their attitude towards big city people coming in. It's a silly, completely goofy, silly. We had 50 hours to complete it.
So this is the first time so we've done this a couple times. I did it once with Joe. I know Joe's done it a few times, but I think this is the first time we were able to get the submission in on time.
No, we didn't get it in on time, but we were allowed in the viral vote.
Okay.
That's online.
Okay.
Yeah.
So vote for Chihuahua, Milking the Goat. There you go.
That's right.
50-hour slam. All right. Anything else, guys? I've got one.
Oh, well, just point out the first annual Chihuahua Hoop Fest called Quartzite is coming up also in August.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's, I believe, the 12th and the 13th of August. And based on the traffic I see and the things I've read, that's going to be a great event.
Wow.
Phenomenal event.
Wow.
I mean, I know that when they were looking for sponsors within like 2 days, their lead sponsor was immediately announced. And then they had 19 what they call gold sponsors. And within 2 days, 12 of those 19 slots were taken.
That's good.
And that was 2 weeks ago. So it's going to it's going to be a great signature summertime type of event for Chihuahua.
So literally right after the 4th of July, things start to go crazy. It's event after event after event. So lots of stuff to do this summer. That's awesome. And, if you're listening from somewhere else at Chewelah, a great place to visit along with that too. So fun. I just wanted to give, since we were talking about Chuck, give a plug out Chuck Ritchie. If you haven't heard, is our new radio station manager taking over things at KCHW. If you are a nonprofit group and you're looking to get a public service announcement on the radio, Chuck's the guy to talk to. If you want to sponsor our daily program, those are announcements that you hear at the top and the bottom of the hour. This portion of programming made possible by a donation from, and it might say SETI's or Dawson's or Valley Drug or a number of our other sponsors. You can join in on that. It's a great way to support public radio. Everybody that deals with the radio station, except for our manager, is a volunteer. So we've got lots of volunteers too. We're going to be opening up in the near future another DJ training class, bring in some new DJs. So just stay tuned. Keep an eye on Facebook. And I missed one too. If you want to be a member in what we call the Radio Guild. So our funding comes from grants, obviously, as a nonprofit, but primarily from the people who purchase our sponsorships, which is considered a donation, so it's a tax write-off since we're a 501c, and through the people that get supporting memberships. And they're as low as $20 for a student or a senior or a veteran, and they go all the way up to our gold level, which is $102.70 for 102.7. And primarily those are businesses, but families can get them too. It's a great way to support public radio.
Yeah.
All right.
And I will have to add that the my time on the morning show is volunteer, and most of the hours I spend at the station end up going under the volunteer category.
It is a part-time it is a part-time job that Chuck accepted, but he has been putting in full-time hours. Thank you, Chuck.
But it's a labor of love, so it's priceless.
It is. And so far I absolutely love it. It's it's kind of a dream job I didn't know I wanted.
And it's awesome. I'm like, I can see off in the distance in the mist that I'm going to be retiring fully like Mike. All right. So thank you all the way around. Has Laura and Annette shown up?
Not yet.
Okay.
They're
well, real quick.
I told Annette to show up right about 8 o'clock.
Okay.
So we'll come back after the break.
All right. So we're not going to break yet, but tell us a little bit about after the break. We've got Annette Roth from the Washington Arts Commission, and it is Roth and not Ross, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
ROTH.
All right. So both of you have worked with Annette before. Who wants to share a little bit about what we're going to be talking about after the break?
Well, we're going to be talking about just kind of an informal conversation about, our sort of past with Annette and how we got the Creative District started, and how really Annette really kind of wants to talk about how our Creative District, the Chewelah Creative District, being one of the first organizations started in the state, we've kind of grown together with the state, and they've used Chewelah as sort of an example of how to move forward with this program, and a lot of the other communities are using Chewelah as a model for how they want to model their creative district.
All right. And then this weekend,
it's been really cool.
And going along with that, you are actually over in Port Townsend for the Creative District State Conference, right?
Exactly. The convening. There's creative districts from all over the state here. We had dinner last night with some folks from Newport that are currently in the process of getting their creative district status. There's people from the State Arts Commission, all the different creative districts from all over the state are here, and it's going to be fun. We're going to learn a lot, and hopefully learn some things to bring back to Chewelah.
All right. Get to share anyways. That's fun.
Right.
All right. Moving along this morning, let's see a few news headlines. Another big thing for July. The entire month, you're going to get to follow Comet E1 Atlas through the July sky. This is going to skirt the northern pole for the summer and thrill northern hemisphere observers. They say when it comes to comets, even the best predictions may betray reality. Bright comets may fizzle as they approach the sun, and fainter comets that ordinarily wouldn't warrant a second look may suddenly flare into view. Thankfully, it's the performer, this time for E1 Atlas, which has been overperforming expectations as of late and recently brightened up to the range of binocular visibility at magnitude +10. Now, to be sure, the comet will probably top out at +8 or +9 magnitude through July as it reaches perihelion just outside the Earth's orbit and coming and actually starts this weekend. Comet is well placed in the night sky for Northern Hemisphere campers through Canada Day on July 1st and through the 4th of July weekend. But if you have a telescope, you will be able to watch it all month long. So that's going to be a fun one. Other big news, it's shaking the world right now. Ryan Seacrest has been named the new Wheel of Fortune host beginning next year. All right. I think he'll do a perfect slot for that. He kind of
I think so too.
He looks like a young Pat Sajak.
You know, I've heard a lot of people upset about it, and you know, people don't like him. There's a lot of people who think he's a little boring. But you know, that's a hard job to do. You know, and to get in there and put yourself out there like that, I give props to anybody willing to, you know, able to do that kind of work. I think it's phenomenal.
I was a little scared on Monday as my girlfriend flew back into Maine because of the fires in Canada and crazy weather patterns. I think we're on back at 7 days straight of rain. Flights have been canceled on Monday. Flights in New York, 1,258 cancellations. And this is through all three New York airports, LaGuardia, JFK, and Newark. 1,258 cancellations on Monday. Yesterday, 1,264 cancellations. Already this morning by 5 a.m., 340 flights canceled. Wow. So
yeah. So are you getting all the smoke coming in from Canada?
We've only had it for one day where we had like what we see in Chihuahua with the red sunset and the orange moon. Only once. So we've been very lucky. A lot of the times, you know, even as the hurricanes kind of reach up the coast and put off that bad weather, up here in Maine we seem kind of protected for some reason, and we don't see a lot of that. But this so far. I'm going to say all of June, we've had 2 days of summer, and that's it.
Wow.
Me and my daughter have been putting in some Airbnb camping cabins as a project, and we were the project way behind the schedule as, you know, you hire people and that kind of stuff and wait for contractors. And it hasn't mattered because summer hasn't started. But if you know me and you're coming to Maine, I got a place for you to stay. All right. Looks also like
how much per night, Scott? Stay there.
I think for you, Chuck, free. All right.
Oh,
yeah.
That's sweet.
All right, we have a new Superman. Let's see. DC just announced the next Superman, and nobody knows who. He's a virtual unknown. He's had one television show, and that is a supporting role on the Netflix series The Politician. His last name is Cornsett, David Cornsweet. Not a good name. But
I was going to say.
The headline says, first of all, he knows you think he looks like Henry Cavill. And he does. Looks like it could be his little brother. So, and he looks really young, like we're going to have like a 30-ish kind of Superman this time.
Okay.
All right. I already covered, made fun of Mr. Inslee, so I won't do that again. And I think that is the last news story I had. So let's move on as we fill some time until our guests arrive. Trivia!
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
And that's Mike and Chuck.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
All right. Are you guys the haters of trivia, or do you kind of enjoy this?
I like
kind
trivia.
of enjoy it, but I'm at a disadvantage this morning. I've only had one cup of coffee.
Because that boosts your brain power?
Yeah, exactly.
It actually does boost your brain power, so that's not a joke. It's coffee does. They say a couple and this is for you, Mike. They say a couple cups of coffee will also ward off Alzheimer's. Yeah,
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not lying.
Why is that for Mike?
Yeah.
Well, Chuck, you are experiencing a lot of radiation there at the station, and you have been up at the
Yeah.
tower, so it's probably some good advice for you too.
So,
That's
so
true. I think I
Scott
might have, I
didn't
think
tell
I
you
have a little
after.
early onset.
So Scott didn't tell you after a year you'll glow in the dark.
I did.
Oh, it takes that long?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I still got 10 months left.
I ordered you one of those badges on Amazon and let you know if you've got too much radiation. Well, I was always when we first started out, we had the tower right there at the studios. I was always kind of concerned about that, but one of the things to get our license approval is we had to have somebody in and come test for radiation. And I thought, where in the world? And it's a different thing to have to do that, because usually towers are up like our one now on top of a mountain. And I thought, where in the Spokane area could I ever possibly find someone with the equipment and knowledge of radio theory to come in and test our build and radiation at the same time, test our building for radiation? And I found somebody in Chewelah. Came right down to the studio, backed up his Explorer, had all of his gear packed around it, and walked around the inside with a couple little antennas and tested the radiation all the way through the building. And we passed, because there was a concern that people would be exposed to that radiation. Well, they ended up. Let's see. We were below tolerances, but it was based on an 8-hour day, and there was plenty of times I spent 24 hours in that building, so that's kind of worrisome, but I don't glow, so yeah. All right, first trivia question. Average person eats just under a ton of what each year? Simple question.
Peanut M&Ms.
Simple trick question.
Eats average under a ton?
Yes.
Food.
Food,
potatoes.
yes, just the basic food.
Food.
You were hoping it was dirt or something, but it really wasn't. It was just food.
Spiders in your sleep.
That's what I probably would have guessed. Spiders. What do the words doldrums, mesosphere, hydrosphere, and mesopause have in common?
Weather.
Yes, Mike Bence.
Oh,
Look at that. He didn't even give you a chance, Chuck. Just
I know, right?
threw you out with the trash. Look at that. All right. Cockroach experts say the creepy little creature spends 75% of their time doing what?
Sleeping.
Yes, we'll take that. Resting.
Okay.
Americans spend $66 billion a year on what?
Oh, man. Water?
It is not water.
Oh.
Vehicles.
No. Some kind of
gas?
maybe a health improvement or a self-improvement.
Oh, gems?
No. It's close, though.
Fad diets.
Oh, diets. There you go. Trying to lose weight.
Yeah.
All right, this is going to be a tough one. No one ever gets the riddles, okay? So listen closely. I am regular, white, and tiny. You can't touch, feel, or hear, or smell me, but you can see me. People who work with technology see me often. You can change how I look and make me move, but that will never change what I do. I change shapes and names often. What am I?
Scott.
Scott. I haven't morphed into
My
any new
Wi-Fi
shapes.
connection.
You're... All right. You are close, actually, Chuck. It isn't Wi-Fi.
Computer.
Oh,
Close.
like a mouse.
A mouse. There you go, Mike Bence.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I am a cursor. All right. Look at that, you guys. You're so smart. All right. A couple more for you. This place generates about 56 tons of trash every day. People visit here.
McDonald's.
No, it's one singular place. 56 tons of trash every day.
Singular.
Graceland.
What'd you say, Chuck?
Graceland.
No.
Disneyland. Or Disney World.
Disney World's what we were looking for. Just keep throwing out words. You'll hit one. Each year, Americans spend $15 billion on what? So this would be like something you might play at work or in a bar.
Video games.
No, sir.
Musical instruments.
No, sir. Each year, Americans spend $15 billion on what?
In work or in a
It's
bar?
more. It's more. You could do. A lot of people do it at work. I imagine there's some bars that do it too.
Vending machines.
It's they're playing something based on something real, but what they're doing is not.
Gambling, online gambling.
You guys are so close.
Virtual reality things.
It's a fantasy. Fill in the blank. They're playing fantasy.
Football.
Role playing.
I'll take football, fantasy sports.
Fantasy football. Okay.
Role playing, Chuck. That's at home.
Quiet! I can't have myself lie.
I've never really understood the fantasy sports thing. It's not a thing I've
Yeah,
ever
me
learned,
either.
and I don't understand it. I get people like it, but okay.
But you get the dressing up at home stuff, right?
Yeah, totally. That's fine.
All right. Belgium has the highest rate of these in the world. It's not a good thing.
Heart attacks from all the cheese.
No, it's kind of
No.
a family thing. Belgium has the highest rate of these in the world.
Highest rate of these divorces.
Divorces, there you go.
Divorces, yeah.
This U.S. city boasts the only royal palace in the United States of America.
The Trump Tower.
That's only in his head.
Right.
All right, I didn't know this. I didn't know we had a royal palace in the United States of America.
Huh.
No
Where is it?
guesses? No guesses?
Royal
Maryland
Palace?
somewhere.
Yeah. The what? It's
Somewhere
not
in
in the
Maryland.
it's not in the lower 48.
Is it in Alaska?
Alaska?
It is not in Alaska.
Hawaii. Oh, because
There you
of
go.
Oh, the
Way to whittle
yeah.
it down. Yeah, we're the Hawaiian royal family. Yeah.
Oh,
Has
the
a-
royal family.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Has a palace. All right, in Honolulu. There you go. Average person uses approximately 57 of these each day. What are they?
57 a day?
every day.
Yeah, average person.
Where's the toilet paper?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and you're both right.
Oh no!
Okay.
We suck again!
I like it. Neither one of you wanted to say it, but you both knew it.
But it's true.
It is true.
That seems like a lot.
It does seem
does,
like
actually.
I think that was based on women. All right, let's wrap this up with what
Fair.
we like to call answer wrong and win. All right, you guys ready?
Okay.
Do not automatically disqualified. I will not let you answer again if you give the correct answer. What is
Okay.
in the middle of a bagel?
Here.
Beer? Okay.
My hopes and dreams.
That was good. All right. We'll let Chuck go first this time, and then we'll see what Mike has. What do you call the popular red and white round Christmas candy?
That would be
It's,
I don't know.
yeah,
My brain stopped. Shut down. It just stopped.
nothing.
I can't even.
All right. Let's see. Mike, what do you call the popular red and white round Christmas candy?
Steak.
Steak. Oh, that almost sounds good. All right. Mike, 4 planets have rings. Name one of those planets.
Scott.
Oh, wow.
I was gonna say Scott's ego.
Scott's Scott's ego and Scott.
I'm just kidding, Scott.
This is
I don't
the-
think you have an ego.
That's all right. This is for both of you.
Shut up, Wesley.
All right. At the movie theater, Chuck, people like to put what on their popcorn?
Cheese sauce.
Bet you maybe
Actually, that is good. So never mind.
It is
I
good,
was
yeah.
wrong. Yeah, that
I'd
is
ca-
something you can
I'd
do.
call that answer right and win.
Yeah, that is the right answer. Oops.
All right. You're disqualified now.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, Mike. At the movie theater, what do people like to put on their popcorn?
Motor oil.
Oh, that might be just the best one ever. There you go.
I like to put not peanut but regular M&Ms. Like just get the bag and just dump them in the popcorn.
Oh.
Yeah, it's good.
All right. Good job, guys. Thank you very much. We're going to go to break. We're going to deliver some news. We'll wrap that up with a couple of thank yous to our sponsors. We were talking about being a sponsor earlier. And then we'll come back. We'll see if the ladies have arrived, and that's Chuck's wife, Laura, is going to be bringing in Annette Roth from the Washington Arts Commission. So stay right here. It is Northern Lights Public Radio, and we are KCHW 102.7.
Hail to the king, baby.
It's 8:09.
You're listening to Northern Lights Public Radio on 102.7 KCHW, Chewelah, Springdale, Wellpinit.
The Public News Service Daily Newscast, June the 28th, 2023. I'm Mike Clifford. District lines for Indiana's 9 congressional districts are locked in through 2030. But U.S. Supreme Court decisions spell out to state lawmakers they don't have ultimate control over drawing those lines.
The High Court has found what's known as the independent state legislature theory will not stand, and attempts to diminish the voices of minority voters won't be tolerated. There are no current challenges to Indiana's congressional maps. However, Steve Sanders, who teaches law at Indiana University's Maurer School of Law, says the High Court rejecting redistricting maps in Alabama, Louisiana, and North Carolina is a signal to all states that the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1965 remains viable.
Nothing immediate, probably only in the sense that it gives some caution to Indiana and every state when it goes through the every 10-year process of redrawing its congressional districts. It has to be sensitive to how it deals with matters of race.
Opponents argue that during redistricting, they were careful to avoid splitting counties and cities between multiple districts as much as possible. But it is clear the makeup of Indiana and other states is changing. According to the 2020 census, fewer Hoosiers identified as white than in 2010. The state's white population fell 6 points to 75.5%, while black and Hispanic populations have grown. The North Carolina case was being closely watched for its potential impact on next year's presidential election. I'm Joe O'Leary reporting.
Now from the New York Times, Chicago and much of the upper Midwest blanketed with a smoky haze from Canadian wildfires on Tuesday. That left many residents of the nation's third largest city startled by the sudden decline in air quality and donning masks when they ventured outside. And speaking of Illinois, they are seeing a steady drop in youth arrests, and therefore a lot fewer kids locked up in both juvenile and adult detention facilities.
Josh Rovner, director of Youth Justice, the Sentencing Project, says the state can maintain this progress by limiting the number of kids under 18 sent to adult courts, which Rovner argues are not equipped to address their needs.
It needs to build up alternatives to incarceration, mentorship programs, and semi-functional therapy, investing in the kinds of things that will get to the root causes of misbehaviors that led a kid to get arrested in the first place.
The arrest rate for people under 18 peaked in 1996 and has declined by more than 80% since then. Farah Siddiqui reporting.
Among youth referred to juvenile court, black youth are 50% more likely to be detained. This is Public News Service. A child advocacy group in Texas is already looking ahead to 2025 after several policy changes it supported this year failed to gain traction.
The group Texans Care for Children believes there were missed opportunities to help kids and families thrive, despite the state's $33 billion budget surplus. Peter Clark with the group points out that lawmakers did not address the state's lack of child care or uninsured rates for kids and adults, but did make a major step forward in providing postpartum health coverage for moms.
Instead of getting kicked off of their health coverage 2 months after their pregnancy, moms in Texas will now have a full 12 months to keep seeing their doctor, keep taking their medications, and keep getting healthy.
To be implemented, the bill requires the state to submit an application to the federal government. I'm Roz Brown.
Texans Care for Children also expressed disappointment that lawmakers did not address gun violence, despite the 2022 massacre of 19 students and 2 teachers at Uvalde. Meantime, the federal COVID-19 public health emergency may be over, but there's lingering concerns about the mental state of children.
The Center for the Prevention of Child Maltreatment gives South Dakota communities a framework to improve harmful home environments for kids. Heidi Gullickson of the Brookings Area United Way helps lead her region's Resilient Community Plan. She says they educate community members about the warning signs of abuse or neglect, but there are also conversations about the type of support at-risk households need in order to have stability.
It's not just one thing happening in a family. In a situation, there's usually multiple prongs that are happening. And so how do we just come around each other and step in when that need is there?
Added support could include closing transportation gaps or making sure households have enough food to eat. I'm Mike Moen.
Finally, Danielle Smith lets us know more groups getting on board, including in Pennsylvania, to support the EPA's proposal for tougher new carbon pollution standards for coal and gas-fired power plants.
The agency says reducing pollutants like carbon dioxide will deliver up to $85 billion in climate and public health benefits over the next 2 decades. In Pennsylvania, the state's constitution guarantees clean air and pure water for all its citizens, says Commissioner Martin Miller of West Norriton Township.
And I've seen the impact that pollution has simply just through one disease state, and that's asthma. One of the things that we've seen over the years is that these particulates that are kind of discharged into the environment really increase the incidence and severity of asthma.
This is Mike Clifford for Public News Service, member and listener supported. Here's on interesting radio stations, your favorite podcast platform. Find our trust indicators at publicnewsservice.org.
It's 8:15.
Your KCHW morning show is made possible by donations from Chewila Flooring.
Chewila Flooring at 214 East Clay in the 3rd Street Mall offers a wide variety of products, including carpet, ceramic and porcelain tile, vinyl and laminate planks, and vinyl sheet flooring. Chewila Flooring carries products for both commercial businesses and residential homes, including brands like National Flooring, Del Tile, Mannington, and Mohawk. They also offer blind repair. For more information, you can visit online at chewilaflooring.com, call 509-935-8021, or via email at chewilaflooring@gmail.com.
Your KCHW morning show made possible by a donation from God-Fearing Brothers Auto Center. God-Fearing Brothers specializes in auto services, including repair, maintenance, and detailing. They also stock a full selection of tires, make glass repairs, offer towing, and have an auto sales lot on the corner of Highway 395 and Main Street at the light. For more information, you can visit the Auto Service Center at 806 East Main in Chewila. Find them online at godfearingbrothers.com or by phone at 509-935-6414. KCHW-FM thanks God-Fearing Brothers for supporting public radio in Stevens County.
This is KCHW, Chewila, 102.7 FM.
And we're back. It's KCHW 102.7. We've got a full show for you today, but nobody's in Chewelah, strangely enough. We have live from Montana today. It's the one and only Mike Bentz, myself, Scott Allen in Maine. And now we were talking earlier to Chuck Ritchie. He's in Port Townsend for a conference. And with them today is Annette Roth. Thank you very much from the Washington State Art Commission. Welcome to the KCHW airwaves, Annette. Thank you for being here this morning.
Yeah. Great. Thanks so much for having me.
All
I'm
right.
excited to be here, everyone.
All right, we're going to turn...
Did we lose Mike? I don't see him on video.
I don't know what happened to Mike. Huh. All right. He's not asking to get back in, so we'll see if he joins us in a minute. I'm going to turn things over to you, though, Chuck, since you're sitting right there with Annette. You guys probably have a big day in store today, huh?
We do, yeah. So we're here for the convening. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure.
Yeah.
So we have an annual convening every year for all of our creative districts here in Washington State. We have 13 certified districts, and we also this year invited districts who were in the planning phase. So we have communities, I think there are about 20 communities from across the state that are joining us here in Port Townsend. This is the first creative district convening that we've had in person since before the pandemic. So we're really excited to be here with everybody. Festivities start in about an hour and 45 minutes. So we're scheduled to start at 10 a.m. We have some walking tours of Port Townsend. We have a number of workshops planned for this afternoon, an evening event. We have some planning, strategic planning, and other fun activities for tomorrow as well. We're really excited to just get everybody together and have some fun and do some good networking and learning more about each other's communities.
Yeah, cool. So tell people listening a little bit about the Washington Arts Commission, a little bit of the history. What would you say you do here?
Sure. So we are a state agency, a standalone state agency. We've been around since 1961. That's when our agency was formed. We serve the entire state of Washington with a number of different programs. We have a lot of grant programs that we offer grants to arts and culture organizations. We have a public art program that's pretty robust. The state of Washington owns over 5,000 artworks in sites all across the state. So the statue that's in front of Jenkins High School, that is one of the pieces of the state art collection. And so a lot of them are cited at colleges, universities, schools, K through 12 schools, and some state buildings as well. We have a robust arts in education program. So working with the OSPI, which is the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, to do arts programming and things like that, and make sure that kids who are in public schools have the opportunity to do that. We have a wellness arts in the military program. So for folks who are in the veteran community, we have a lot of art therapy and other kinds of grant programs for them. We have a new tribal cultural affairs program that's starting here next fiscal biennium, which starts in 3 days from now, basically. And we have our creative districts program, which is the program that I run to help communities use arts and culture for economic development opportunities. So we do a lot of work. We're not a huge organization. We have about 35 folks, but we do a lot of really great work across the state.
Now I've been hearing. Cool. Yeah. I've been hearing. Now Mike just joined us. Welcome back, Mike Bentz.
Hey, Mike.
All right. Thanks for letting me back
hey,
in.
Mike.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. It's good to see you.
So Mike's been talking about you, Annette, and the creative districts.
Oh, God.
Yes, for years, every Wednesday on the radio. Mm-hmm. Give us so as far as the creative districts are concerned. I remember when we started out and we were like Chewelah was like the first of three. What has that grown to? How long has it been in operation?
So our program's been around for about 5 years, just over 5 years. We started in the early part of 2018. And so we have 13 certified districts right now. And yes, Chewelah was number 2. So the first rural district in the state to come about in, I think it was June of 2019. We have 5 districts right now that are sort of in the planning or in the application process. And so the districts run the gamut from communities like Ione. So is one of your sort of close by neighbors is in the application phase. In the town of Ione has, I think, about 425-ish people that live there, all the way on up to a neighborhood in Southeast Seattle and Rainier Valley. So, they run the gamut of communities, rural and urban, suburban communities, all across the state. And we're really excited. I mean, we had some, obviously during COVID, a lot of folks put some of the work that they were doing on hold because, COVID was a little bit more important at the time to deal with. But what we've seen is for the districts that were around before that, they've really used their creative district as a way to kind of reinvent their communities post-COVID and to look towards the future. And I think that the work, especially that you've been doing in Chewelah, is really reflective of that.
All right.
Very cool.
So
you
go ahead. Sorry, Chuck. I told you I was going to let you ask the questions, but there's too many things in my mind.
Oh, no, that's okay. No, I was just, we were talking last night a little bit about how we've sort of, the Chewelah Creative District and the state program, we kind of, being one of the first organizations, not to toot our own horn, yes, to toot our own horn, but how we've sort of grown together and sort of shaped and modeled kind of each other's plans and things moving forward.
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting because we were a brand new program. We started, from scratch. We know economic development and arts and culture, but what that application of that looks like is different in every community. And so there was a lot of stuff that we, had to practice and test and experiment on when we started the program. And for us, we've been really grateful to be able to work with folks like in Chewelah, for example, because people are really interested in the community. They want to make sure that things are happening that really are reflective of the community, and there's a lot of passion there. And so we've been able to, learn some new things and learn, we were talking last night about our capital projects grant program and how traditionally capital projects have a pretty significant match requirement in Washington state. So meaning like if you get a $10,000 grant, you sometimes have to bring $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in cash to the table. And when we started our program was right at the beginning of COVID. And honestly, Mike, you remember this conversation where you said, yeah, I don't know if we're going to be able to manage this with such a strong match requirement. Is there something that we can do to fix that? Or is there something that we can do to make it work so we can have a project? And, we thought a lot about that and was like, oh yeah, we can. And so we were able to adjust that to make sure that all the communities that are participating have an opportunity. That's what we really want to make sure. Whatever that opportunity looks like, we want to make sure that it can be equitable and fit with the communities.
Well, and my hat's off to you, Annette, because you're the one who figured out how to get that done, I think, through the Washington Department of Commerce type programs. And for the people that aren't in the know on that, basically what that allowed us to do is, because of the economic makeup of the community, allowed for less of a match, but it also allowed us to use some in-kind services for the offset of that match. And then for a community like Chewelah, or I think in a lot of rural communities, the in-kind services are such a big portion of what happens that became a godsend, frankly, in getting the program rolling. And it also becomes a catalyst for community involvement. And so I think, I guess one of my comments or questions, maybe back to Annette, is when I was first introduced to the Creative District program, the one thing that jumped out at me was this is a opportunity for the rural communities to compete with the metro communities, because they have arts in common. It's just that the noise is louder on the larger communities.
Right.
And through the good work that's been done through the Arts Commission, I believe the Chewelah Ziones, the Moses Lakes, a variety of rural communities that are out there now have a voice. And I'll put a plug into this, as long as you talk to your legislature.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that's,
yes, absolutely.
So, and I guess as you look into the future, at what point does it saturate itself? I mean, or does it ever?
That's a great question. There are creative or cultural district programs in several other states, probably about 12.5 other states. And, that's a really great question. I know in Colorado, I think they probably have somewhere about 25 or 30, maybe roughly 30-ish creative districts. Their program's been around for a few years longer than ours. And the programs look slightly different in every community. We haven't got to the point, I think, where we're saturation. I mean, obviously, I don't really believe that all 281 municipalities in Washington state are going to become creative districts. That would be, I mean, that would be a pipe dream. You know, I mean, I think for us right now, because our program is at the 5-year mark, we're sort of in this place, like all organizations or all businesses or programs, where we have to think about what that's going to look like for the future. And so some of the work that we're going to be doing in this creative district convening, and tomorrow we have a long session, is getting all the districts together to do some of that strong thinking around strategic planning. What are their needs? You know, because we have districts who've been around 4 or 5 years, like you guys, that are sort of, you know, you're more mature in your work. And then we have districts who are literally in the planning process right now, and they have very different needs. And so our goal and, you know, our responsibility is to be able to create a program that works for both types of groups. And so, but for us, it's like, you all in all the communities across Washington, no matter where they are, you guys know your communities better than we do. And so we want to make sure that you have a stake in what that program is going to look like for the future, and make sure that it works for the actual communities, and not just what we think. You know, we're sitting in Olympia like, oh, we think this should be the thing, but that's not really what needs to happen.
Right. And, you know, so one of the things that I like to talk about is a bigger picture item. You know, people see that we're doing the art shows and like this amazing show we had this weekend at the golf course. But behind the scenes, it's really bigger than that. It's about really sort of reshaping the economy in areas like ours, where, you know, historically we've kind of had these ups and downs, and industries move in and move out and sort of leave the town, you know, wanting for some, you know, economic impact. And it's really this creative economy is about creating smaller pockets of creative industries. And that's not just artists, it's, you know, it's restaurants, and I mean, there's a list of hundreds of different types of industries and businesses that are creative industries. And it's about creating these a robust, basically, conglomeration of smaller creative businesses that can withstand the ups and downs of the economy.
Absolutely.
And really trying to change our economy around. So what's your take on that and the importance of this creative economy, and especially rural areas?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, you know, traditionally in economic development and, you know, in growth within local economies, you know, a lot of times you put your basket into one big thing, like, oh, the plant or the manufacturing place or whatever. And so, you know, the mine. And so communities sometimes live or die by that. If the mine, you know, eventually when you have an extraction economy, there's no more rocks that you can get, right, or whatever. And so so that, you know, putting all your eggs in one basket is risky from an economic development perspective. And so having a more varied economy, local economy, where you have, you know, different types of businesses, you know, like Chuck was talking about, makers and graphic designers, and you have restaurants, and you have local businesses that already exist, all, you know, dentists and doctors, and, you know, the hardware store, and all of those things broadens the economic base and broadens the job base. And so when there are shocks in the larger economy, you're a little bit more able to sustain that, because you're not losing all of the jobs. You know, you have a mine that employs 500 people, for example, that mine goes away. But, you know, if you had, let's say, one of the, you know, like the local web designer or whatever, they close up shop or they move, that's only a few jobs. And so it, you know, and that also leaves a gap as, you know, as a possibility for someone else to come and fill that need. So we look at it as more of a long-term sustainability question. How are we going to ensure that our community's economy is more relatively stable over the long term, and that we can grow it in a way that fits within the local community values? That's what we really are hoping people can do through this process.
Right.
Well, and I think the COVID was actually a blessing in disguise, because I think Tooele proved a point that even though COVID had a lot of downside to it, Tooele came through that relatively unscathed. If you take a look at it from a larger economic standpoint, I mean, sales were up as far as businesses were concerned. There were
14% in sales over the first year.
And I think that
COVID
gets back to Annette's point. Instead of having one employer that hires 500 people, if you get 50 or 100 employers that hire 5 or 10 people, it's more resilient. And the other point I think a lot of people don't get is when you have the multi-employer creative accounting, the one thing that you get that I think is underappreciated is a quality of life thing. You know, and you know, and I like a lot of us grew up, you know, I was in Western Montana for the extraction, you know, areas for 30 years. And it's great as long as it's booming, but as soon as it busts, there's nothing to fall back on, you know?
Right.
And Chewelah was that way too. And Scott, you know, has got some history of that. So to me, the quality of life issue of a creative district environment and the economic vitality go hand in hand. And I think that's not given enough press, frankly.
Right.
You know, and I think Chewelah in itself, as you've seen it morph over the last couple of years, especially into more of a quality of life organization. You're seeing people like the ski hill get on board, the casino get on board, the golf course get on board, the government agencies, the Forest Service get on board, BLM get on board, the larger employers in the industry get on board. And that all drives back through, in this case, Tri-County Economic Development, because they see that as a valuable resource. And I don't know, I'm kind of my soapbox here, but
you're right though. If I could scoop everybody back to 1979 and walk you through Chewelah, you'd literally go, "Oh my God!" You know, the town has transformed itself over the years, with I think maybe some forward thinking people that improved facades of businesses and that type of stuff. And then you guys came in with kind of like what I think is like the jewel on the crown with the Creative District. It's really you know, for a place that has so many opportunities for tourism, it was really underdeveloped. And it goes hand in hand with so many things that are happening around here, like the new forest lands being opened up, and even what having Larry Feder on a couple weeks ago, and what the town is trying to do as far as recreation for the people that live here. The changes that Chewelah have went through are enormous. And that's one thing that I miss so much is that camaraderie in Chewelah with the people that live there. Because I'm in a town, is exactly what Annette was talking about. This town was a mill town. It lived and breathed paper products, and the mill burnt down. And the town is like horribly despondent, doesn't know what to do. They're surrounded within 2 miles. There's 13 lakes, and then nobody's doing tourism.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. So yeah.
Well, and I think to your larger point, of a couple of things. So to that point, you know, what happens is people get used to how things are, and change is difficult, and change can be scary and hard, and you know, it's people don't really know which direction to go, right? And that's a reality. And instead of trying to, you know, make people feel bad about that or whatever, I think it's important for folks to try to say, okay, so we know that this happened. We know there's going to be changes. We have to figure out what that's going to look like for our community and how we want to grow things, right?
Exactly.
And I think that if you have a community like Chewelah, I mean, you know, from the very first time that I visited you all, which was in 2018, when Diane Evans called me just randomly and said, "Hey, we want you to come to Chewelah," which I'd never heard of the community at that point, you know, and came and was just impressed so much by how much love and passion people had for each other, the social capital that exists in the community where people were being congenial and willing to work together, and all of those kinds of things. You know, they help to provide that base so that you can do these other kinds of activities. You know, I mean, to Mike's point about the quality of life, that's really important. You know, it's really important you're talking about some of these larger employers, the Forest Service, the casino, you know, all of those kinds of things, because they need to have a workforce, and people want to live in places that are comfortable and interesting and cool, and they have interesting stuff that they can do, and there's activities for their children, and safe. Absolutely, right? And so when you have all of those pieces put together, it does make the community a lot stronger. And I think that, you know, we've seen that particularly in Chewelah. We are seeing that in a lot of our other creative districts as well. And each one of them is taking their creative district and doing something a little bit different than the other. And that's what we want. You know, these aren't supposed to be cookie cutter communities. Like the creative district in Chewelah is very different than what the creative district in Ione is going to look like. Newport, which is also one of your neighbors, is looking to become a creative district and is working on that. So all of those creative districts are relatively close to each other. And they're all different, and every single one of them that we have is different. And we want it to be that way because every community is different. It attracts different people. There's a different vibe there. The geography is different, which has an influence on their local economy and the creative district. And so we want to make sure that people highlight that and preserve that as much as possible and keep that uniqueness that exists.
What an interesting tourist point, and then I'll shut up, Chuck, is just that we have Ione, Newport, and Chewelah. What a great little tourist route that would be to come to our little corner of the Pacific Northwest and be able to visit 3 different towns with their own unique arts and culture. That'd be a fun tour to me.
Yeah. Well, Scott,
completely
ironically, Ted's working on a program to brand Northeast Washington, and we were fortunate enough to have the seat at the table, we being the creative district. And one of the 5 emphases on their new program is going to be arts and culture in Northeast Washington, which includes tours, just like you mentioned. What's a day tour in Chewelah look like? What's a 3-day tour look like between us and Newport and Colville in this case, which is, you have to get to Ione one way or the other through there. But that wouldn't have happened 5 years ago if the creative district wasn't in play. Because I think by definition and strength, as Annette said, they're all unique. And when you're unique, you have a tendency to be siloed. It's how do you get those people together and complement each other? As you said that, it dawned on me, Lynn Cassidy's taken over the helm on that for me at TED. And what a great person to do that. I mean, as far as making sure the creative district and arts and culture have a front place in Pend Oreille County, basically, and Stevens County and Ferry County. And so, because those are the 3 counties involved in that initiative.
Well, it is part of their SED. So SED is like a community economic development plan, basically.
Right.
And for TED's, because I looked at it, that's one of the things that they're focusing on is that arts and culture piece as a driver of the economy. And so, this is a mechanism for TED, which, they do economic development. They don't do arts and culture work necessarily. They can support it, but the work needs to happen within the communities. And so having that baseline of support for the communities to do the work that they're doing is really important, I mean, for us, that's part of the reason why we want to have these convenings and bringing all the folks together is so they get to know each other. And to your point, Mike, to de-silo the communities, but then also getting people to think more collectively. So the community in Chewelah and the creative district in Chewelah has its thing and it is doing the work that it wants to do. And although Newport and Ione are kind of neighbors, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're competing with each other, right? I mean, you're complementing. There's, obviously sort of some of that with an economic development landscape, but the reality of it is it's like they don't have what you have and you don't have what they have, and that's okay. That's what we want people to be able to figure out. And then also sit down in a room. You guys got to sit down with Linda yesterday. We had a sort of pre-event dinner for folks who traveled early. And so Linda Casella, who's from Newport, one of the folks working on it, sat at the table where Chuck and Laura were sitting. And so they had an opportunity to kind of meet each other a little bit more and learn a little bit more about the work that they're doing, with the idea to hopefully do something like you're talking about. Maybe there could be a some kind of a tour or some kind of more larger sort of community or regional partnerships that could happen, which is just going to end up making the entire community and the entire economy within the entire region stronger.
And as we grow together, we can work to complement each other, not recreate the wheel and keep doing the same thing over again, or like you said, we don't have to
resources,
compete.
Right?
Yeah, we don't have to compete. We can share our resources. We can work together and make sure that what we're doing is compatible and cohesive, with each other.
Absolutely. What's interesting for the folks in Chewelah is that, no pressure, but you kind of are looked at in a lot of ways as a model for the creative districts, for the rural communities, because, well, you're the first, so you're kind of the trailblazer. And so by default you are, but then also just the fact that you've been able to make really great things happen without a crazy amount of resources, with just, plugging away at, okay, we're going to do this thing. We're going to do it really well. And the work is going to stand on its own, and that draws in more interest and more resources. And we've been able to see that, starting with that. Mike and I had this conversation a while ago about that first mural project. It got done. It was great. It was visible. It, contributed money to the local economy, all of those kinds of things. And people were able to see in the community that, oh, this creative district is making stuff happen.
Mhm.
And it's a viable organization and a viable mechanism for us to do work in the community. Let's see what they can do. And you
Right.
since then have, I mean, what are all the things you like the, you know,
The kiosk and the wayfinding signs and the sign garden in the park,
Right.
Another round of murals,
the arts walk, right?
the art walk. Well, that was started by the Trails End Art
Right.
Gallery, but we've joined in on that. You know, our art events at the golf course, and like I said, right now we're working on putting a new sign as you come into Chewelah from Flower Trail from the
Okay.
ski hill. A local clay artist is going to be working on that and doing
Oh,
some
fun.
custom clay tiles for the creative district as you come into town.
Well,
Yeah.
and we've been able to help create and participate in several festivals.
Yep.
The Creative District just completed a Renew Washington grant introducing arts back into the K-12 system in the school district.
Mhm.
And it was a pilot program, and I'm actually waiting to hear back on my comments, you know, from those people. But you know, it's one of those pioneer things. So some things work, some things didn't work. So how do we make it better next time? You know, that type of thing.
Right.
I mean, the Spotlight Gallery, you know, the opportunity through a lot of good work behind the scenes of getting some artists exposed that didn't even know people existed.
Right.
You know, the upcoming, as Chuck and the people are working on, the adult art education classes, you know, which there's a huge need for. It seems like every survey we took, people said they'd love to take art classes. You know, so, you know, found a little funding for that. So now it's getting that into play. Involved with the downtown revitalization through retail strategies is one of the seats at the table.
I think one of the best things you're doing, Mike, is this bringing it to the kids, because when our schools lost theater programs
Yes.
and art programs, that was a travesty, and you guys are bringing that back to the kids, and I think that deserves applause.
Right. And, you know, to your point about that, Scott, one of the things that we know is a challenge for a lot of, you know, rural communities is brain drain to a certain degree. And so if I grow up in a small community, what's going to keep me there as an adult? What if I go off to college, for example, and then I graduate, am I going to come back, and what am I going to come back to? And one of the things that we know attracts students and attracts kids to come back to the communities and be, you know, adults there is a connection to the community. And so those connections to the communities are often found through sports and arts and culture, right? So you have the sports kids, but not everybody's a sports kid. So what do you do with those other kinds of kids, those creative kids who may love their community, but they don't find a place there? When you have those kinds of opportunities for theater and performance and that sort of thing that they can do as a child, they feel connected to their community, and they want to stay there, and they want to grow there, and they want to raise their families there, you know, and so that helps to provide that continuity. So I think a lot of times with, you know, not to get off on a tangent, but with this whole notion of teaching to the test, making sure we can do all of that, that's important, but we're missing out on some of the more fundamental aspects of being a person and being a human that make us want to be connected to our communities. And so we're hoping that with these projects that you guys are doing, you know, it's able to change that, and that it's a model for what other communities can do, and what they can think about, how they can change, you know, move the needle, I guess you could say, within their own community.
I would like to point out that while we're huge supporters, that was the Children's Theater. That was before the Creative District was formed, and they were doing amazing things, and we're not taking credit for
No, I get it.
for that, but yeah, we
But
are
it's
huge
just
supporters. We love to work
partnerships,
with
right? It's like there's, just because you're not doing it doesn't mean that you're not a part of it.
Exactly.
Right.
They're
And you
not
should let other
supporting
people
it.
do their good
Yeah.
work. Right.
And the radio station is going to be working with the kids theater program to be doing some kids theater on the radio.
Oh, that would be
You're
super
giving me
fun.
goosebumps. We've gotten to do a couple things like that early on, and I'm exactly what you're talking about. I graduated from Jenkins High School in Chewelah. I was a total theater rat, and from the teacher at the time, her name was Sherry Frizzell. She used to do a radio program, and that got me so interested. I left Chewelah and had a radio career, and came back 30 years later and built a radio station. So it's just, I mean, it's
That's
home.
awesome.
No matter where I am, it's always home for me.
Oh,
That's fantastic.
and I'm fortunate enough Scott, to carry on that torch for you, and I'm honored to be doing this. It's exciting.
Yes, it is.
It's amazing what you've built, and I'm just excited to be a part of it.
You're doing good, buddy.
Thank you.
That's why I can retire.
Well, and I wanted to talk a little bit too for people listening. We're talking about things like tourism and growth, and in an area like ours, people hear those words, and a lot of people put up the shields, and they're like, "No, we don't want to grow. We don't want tourism. We want this to be our quiet, quaint little town." And those things can happen without affecting that. A lot of people are like, "Oh, we don't want to be the next Leavenworth." Like, we don't have to be. Right. We can form what we want as we move forward in a way that works for us, and not have to be this big tourist trap. We don't have to put up big apartment buildings. We don't have to grow and expand and be another suburb of Spokane. We have lots of room to grow without actually, expanding what we're doing. We have lots of empty buildings. We have lots of space. We have lots of economic programs that we can put in place for the people that are already there. Because we know the people already here need more. They need better jobs. They need a better economy or surrounding them and supporting them. And as far as tourism goes, I mean, what's better than people coming and spending their money and then going back home?
Sure. Right.
And we don't have to be this big overblown tourist trap.
Right. So. And I think so one of the reasons that we do these kind of planning activities, so we do this planning work with the Creative District, working with Ted to do some of these other kinds of things, is thinking about what are the things that are going to make sense for our community? What do we want to see, right? And so with the Creative District specifically, we don't start with, where's your Creative District going to look like, and what are the things you want to do? We start with, what are your community values? What do you guys believe in? Who are you, right? And start from that baseline, because those, when you have a strong understanding of what your values are as a person, but also I think as a community, then you're able to make appropriate decisions for what you're going to do, right? And that are in line with those values and with those ethics. And so we want people to think about it from that perspective. And so, I mean, the reality of it is the Chewelah and the Valley is beautiful. And there's, 4 seasons of activities that can happen there, right? There's the ski hill, there's trails, and all of those, there's a bunch of lakes that are nearby and all of those kinds of things. So there is going to be that component. But, I mean, I think comparing to Leavenworth is like, that was a manufactured thing.
Yeah.
They did that on purpose back in the 50s or the 60s or whatever it was. And unless somebody's wanting to do that in Chewelah, which doesn't sound like it, and it's not necessary, frankly, I don't think that's going to be the case. I mean, I can understand the concern that people have about the longtime locals being, run out sort of because, other folks from other places are coming in with more money and pricing everybody out. That's a problem everywhere in Washington. It's not unique to Chewelah or any other place. It's a huge challenge.
Everyone in the United States.
Yeah, really. Yeah. I mean, the reality of it is that, housing and all of that is a huge concern, and income inequality. But I also think that on a local level, it's an opportunity for community members to figure out, like, okay, so if we don't want this to happen in our community, how are we going to work together to make sure that that doesn't happen? Right. How do we connect with the property owners and the building owners to say, hey, don't necessarily, go make your building go to the highest bidder. Sell your building to the person who's going to do the best with it over the long term, the best for the community. And that's a shift in values a little bit from just, money as the primary goal to creating a holistic community. And that's a challenge sometimes for people to
community the goal over money.
Yeah, exactly. Not that money's not important. I mean, obviously we all have to eat, but those two things aren't in competition with each other. You can have money and you can also have a good community. It's not one or the other.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, so again, to go back to this creative economy and tourism, what we need to do is not just blow forward and do this, without thought, which isn't what we're doing. We're planning this out. We have countless examples of small communities, like we talked about earlier, where the company store comes in, or the big factory, and then leaves the town in ruin when they inevitably leave. These kinds of things, we learn from these mistakes that other places have made, these areas that become tourist traps and the prices go crazy and drive everybody out. We have these examples we can learn from and not do that, and like you said, do things that match our values and the way we want to move forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All
right. I think that's important.
Any other questions, either of you?
No, I'm excited to get to the convening and learn some stuff this weekend.
Yeah, this is going to be great. I'm excited. I mean, for me, we've done these convenings online for the past couple of years. Mm-hmm. We were originally going to have last year's convening be in person, and then there was a COVID like snapback kind of thing. So we're like, okay, we're not doing that because the last thing we want is to bring 50 people together and then everyone gets sick from it. So, right. But this year we feel good. This is the first time since we did those convenings. We had 2 in 2019. One was in Lacey, and then another one we did in Toppenish as part of the Cultural Congress conference. And so just getting everybody together in the same room, talking to each other. Port Townsend, if you haven't been here, is a lovely place. We're looking out the window here, and it's socked in, unfortunately, with fog. So hopefully that will clear up. But to be able to bring everybody together is important.
So you said you
are planning to. I got it.
She got here, but
okay.
But yeah, it's great. You can use the fog is nice, but you can still see the silhouette of the boats out in the harbor through the fog, and then right across from us, there's like this little mini lighthouse. It's beautiful.
It is pretty nice, but so our goal is to be able to have these convenings every year, at least once, and alternate back and forth, right? So we're doing a West Side convening this year. We want to do one on the East Side next year, and then back and forth. Seeing what communities would be willing to host or have the capabilities to host, or even if there are a couple of communities close to each other, they could share hosting. That could be a possibility as well.
And you said 13 creative districts in the state of Washington so far? Is that the
Yes, we have 13 that are certified, and then we have five more that are in the application process right now. And so assuming everything is good and we all, we're able to do this, we'll have the other 5 before the end of this year. So that will bring us up to 18, which is pretty close to what our original benchmark was. We had said that, at the beginning of the program, 5 years out, we wanted to see 20 creative districts in Washington. We didn't know that COVID would happen. Mm-hmm. So things keep selling out.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. We didn't know that COVID would happen. So we feel pretty comfortable about being on that. And then, beyond that, there's probably another half a dozen or so communities that are in the early stages of doing this. And so, our goal is probably by, within the next 2 or 3 years to have another 6 to 10 creative districts come online.
How many warm bodies are you expecting for the convening this weekend or over the next few days?
I think our conference coordinator who works in our agency said we have about 55 or 60 folks. So, which is a pretty good number.
But still intimate, so people can actually get together and share. That's cool.
Exactly.
Do some networking.
Exactly. That's our goal. We have some activities planned. We have some workshops and things like that. But we really wanted to make this one. We're doing walking tours. We're doing, we have an evening event tonight where we're bringing people together. We are doing a tour of Fort Worden State Park tomorrow, which is part of the creative district, so that people have a lot of time to be together. And not just sitting in a classroom or whatever. And so that's what we want to do, is bring that cohesion and that collectivism back so we can start planning for the next iteration, the next 5 years of the Creative District program.
And what I think is cool is, so there was a mayor's conference recently in Spokane, and our mayor I don't know if I should say the name of the small town or not, but there was another small town that was considering a creative district, and so the mayor invited them to come up and talk, and we gave them a little tour, and it was a lot of fun. We connected, and I think you're going to have another applicant here pretty soon.
Good. Well, we'll talk offline about what that is. Maybe I can find out. Provide some support to them.
Yeah.
So awesome.
All right. Thank you guys so much. And Mike, you did a lot of work getting the creative district started, so a round of applause for you too. And I bet you wish you were there, don't you? I bet you wish you were Port Townsend.
I can't get that creative district thing out of my brain. So as I go around the area up here, I'm thinking, boy, Big Fork needs one, and Elmo needs one, and the Flathead Valley needs one, and Whitefish needs one.
Well, that's what we thought. We lived in Pigeon Forge in Tennessee, and Gatlinburg has a very robust creative sort of. They call it something different, but it's the same concept. Sure. It's a state program. And for years, when we drove around for 4 years traveling the country, and when we traveled to places, because we were there, like you said, Mike, it got in our head, and everywhere we traveled, oh, is there a creative district here? Is there something, and if there was a place, we would sort of meander our travels around these areas that had these every state calls them a different thing.
Right, cultural district, creative district, arts districts, whatever. They're all more or less the same thing. I mean, ours, we call it creative because we didn't want it to just be pigeonholed in arts. And so this gives folks an opportunity to broaden that perspective a little bit and see what that's going to look like. Like Ione, for examples, their creative district isn't based on arts and culture in the same way that like Chewella's is. You have more of a strong history of that. So theirs is more around sort of survival arts and what does it mean to live in an extremely rural community, and how can we take some of those traditional skills and those traditional things that people need for survival and be able to grow our economy with it, which is a very different take on the creative districts and other areas, but it's also really interesting. So, looking at places for people who grow food and to be able to manufacture that and to sell that or whatever the case might be. And, so it's pretty interesting. So we want the communities to be able to broaden their notion of what that means, right? It's not just about fine art. Fine art is important, and that, is something that people enjoy, and it should be part of the district, but it doesn't have to be the only thing that's there.
I like to compare it to like a TV show. We do these amazing art shows, and they're great. They're kind of like our Monster of the Week episodes. They're these fun things that we do, and they get exposure, and they really do help a lot of local artists. But we still have that main sort of storyline through of economic development, and this is really for the economy.
Absolutely.
And to really develop an area where we've been struggling sort of economically for a while.
Absolutely.
So,
well,
Mike, this is the first convening that we've had where you haven't been here, so we're gonna miss you. But we're glad for you that you've been able to, retire and move on.
Right.
With the things that you want
well,
to do. So
it's been a great experience for Loretta and I, and and my daughter's an artist, and she's already trying to get me involved here. In fact, Loretta met somebody the other day whose son's an artist, and she was talking about creative districts, and this gentleman told her, he says, well, if he creates one, I'll be the first person to join.
There you go.
Talk to your legislators, Mike.
Talk to your legislators. We'd be happy to help do some consulting work and help the folks in Montana figure out what
that went through my brain. I know this person that really knows how to get this done.
Annette, I bet you really find your job rewarding. You're helping people and creating things yourself.
Yeah, I like to say I have the coolest job. I mean, I work for the government, and I have such a cool job. For me, it's economic development. For me, is something that I find a passion. I'm, a creative. I have a background in design, web development, and marketing, and got into economic development. And that was something that really spoke to me, because it's like I can use my skills to help communities and help people within those communities. And so being able to see that, and I'm not doing the work, it's the people in the community that are doing the work. I just get to be the person who gets to share the framework, right? And so for me, it's gratifying to be able to see people take this and take it to the next level, and we're just meeting different people from the different communities, traveling all across the state. I mean, I've lived in Washington for quite a while, right? I'm not from Washington originally, and I've traveled more in Washington state in the past 5 years than in the previous 20 that I lived here. And I have seen more of Washington state that in such amazing places and, such amazing people. And it's just really fun to be able to see how people can take a concept like this and make it their own and grow their local economy. To me, that's just really exciting to see.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Big round of applause. Annette Roth from the Washington Arts Commission. Thank you for being on KCHW this morning. All right, and a big thank you to Chuck for coming in this morning on your little getaway and sharing with us, too. And then we want to thank Mike for his 5 years of service to public radio in Chewelah. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. You folks.
You're going to be missed.
You and Annette, Chuck, you guys have a great day and have fun, all right?
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Have a great meeting.
And Mike Bentz, I will be calling you the very next time I need someone to fill in.
I'm available.
Like maybe tomorrow or Friday.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much for our listeners for tuning in today on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on KCHW 102.7. Everybody wave goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.